Fancy. Okay, so so like I said, we're adaptable, and if something's not working, please let me know. But what I really plan on doing is, like I said, recording the lectures, uploading them to you, and then using this time we meet together, your dog, Sheena, is going to be discussions and just interactive things that'll make this class fun. I love teaching. It should be fun. Yes, micro is going to be a hard course. Yes, there's going to be a lot of memorizing, but that's just part of, you know, part of the deal. And so I will promise you I'm not going to make extra work for you. If anything, I try to make your life easier. Okay, so again, if something's not working, let me know and I can figure out if we can address a way to fix it. Okay. All right, due dates. So I've put everything in the calendar and I assign dates and everything like that. And I believe that I have all assignments due the following week. That being said, try to get them done like in as closest to our lecture time as possible, because a week from now you won't necessarily remember everything that we talked about. Okay, so while the due date isn't until later, don't wait until the last minute. Now, due dates for me are a very gray date. Okay, so if you have something horrible come up and you miss the due date by a day, I'm not going to dock you points. Okay, I understand that life happens, and you know, especially a lot of you guys are in the healthcare, you have kids, you have family and stuff, so I am lenient. That being said, don't abuse that. I had a student once that by midterm they had only turned in 2 assignments, and I said, dude, this is not cool. First of all, you're setting yourself up for failure. I'm glad that you're coming to each lecture, but you know, come on. So I gave them like a week or 2 to catch up, and they had ended up submitting like 1 assignment and then they dropped. So don't leave it to the end, you know, because that you're just asking for more work for yourselves. That being said, things come up, things happen. I don't want you guys to be panicking like, oh my God, this is due at midnight. Oh my God, it's 12 and I missed the deadline. Again, I am a very much a realist, okay? So if you have any problems, send me an email and saying, oh my God, you know, I just had to take my kid to the doctor or something. I'm going to be a little bit late, but I am working on it, and that'll be cool. Okay. So yeah, do you guys have any questions about me, about my teaching style, about anything with this course?
The discussion boards, is that something like, I noticed it said that you would assign us our topics that we're supposed to talk about. Is that like something that you tell us what we're doing, or do we find it in the book?
I think it says that you're supposed to find a scientific article and talk about it. So like this week, a couple people have put up discussions already, and one was about hand washing. And so I think that there's a couple like suggested topics, but I'm not gonna assign you guys something. I want you to make this your class. So you find something that's interesting to you and then you post. And even if that's not what the directions say, I don't care, because I want you to learn for you. And for instance, like heart disease, well, usually I teach physiology, patho, and stuff like that, but micro would be the same thing. But I would much rather research the heart disease that runs in my family than Joe Schmo's disease. So make it yours. Just make sure to put in effort.
So do you want it like something related to that chapter that we just that we read?
That would be great.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But if you're reading through the chapter and you're like, oh man, it'd be really cool to know a little bit more about that, take off with it, you know? So like I said, I try to make classes fun, right? I'm also one that I won't assign extra work that isn't necessary. You know, like I don't like busy work. I don't like to be micromanaged, so I'm not going to micromanage you. That being said, I am here to help you guys too. What other questions do we have? And does anyone know why we're missing about half the people? Or 11 people? 12? No? Okay, that's okay. What other questions? Is that Brenda? Rebecca, you're not on mute, and you were breathing so I could hear you, so now I'm gonna pick on you. So do you have any questions? Nobody has any questions. I really don't pick on people because I hated being called on from a teacher. So even if I did know what was going on, I hated it. So All right, so basically, I put out, I'm gonna share my screen and show you guys. Share, what do I wanna do here? See if I can, I'm trying to pull up something. I really am tech savvy, but sometimes life gets a little funny. All right, I'm trying to pull up, yeah, sure. And I'll walk you through how to find things. All right, so Zoom, I want to Zoom and I want to share screen too. Why are you not here? It should work, I think. Yep. Okay, so this is your class outline, right? So if you go to your courses and you just go to micro, right, then you're gonna have wherever you are. And so I tend to blow up your phone with announcements. If I need to get something out, I will send you announcements. And so I'll work on making a Zoom meeting that will reoccur so that it'll be the same link, but I also will send out the link right before we meet every day in case you can't find it and it gets lost or whatever. And then like you can see, I'll put topics in and kind of tell you what's going on and how to find things. Where I want you to live is going to be in these modules. And so, of course, you don't get the instructor stuff, but the start here has a lot of great information about your textbook, the policies, who I am, your assignment summary, and I emailed that as well. And we'll talk about that. And then module 1, and it tells you that's weeks 1 and 2. This is your reading assignment, then your discussion that we talked about, and then I'm going to assign this microbial deck. The instructions are in there, so read the instructions pretty much, okay? And then weeks 2 or module 2 is weeks 3 and 4. But what I want to show you guys is under the announcements, you guys can see my screen too, right? Hopefully, okay, cool. So the course assignment chart. When you click right there, then it opens up a Word document. And this, I want you kind of to print this off because this will tell you when things are due and everything in the point version. So it says module 1, which is weeks 1 and 2, your 2 dates, and then these are your assignments, and those are your assignments. So this is what I literally, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do because you guys are all adults and stuff, but this is what I carry around so I can organize what to teach. Okay, and so then as I go through, I put a check mark or highlight or whatever so that I know that we did it. But this is a great little summary of how to keep your brain organized. And that is how you can find it, is in the announcements, okay? But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much where to live. And then the discussions you guys have already found from some of the discussion boards that I saw. So, you know, the current event 1. And like I said, there's, I think, 2 posts that are in there already. And it tells you, so here's exactly where to find your information. Select a current article from a science or medical journal or current newspaper pertaining to health science, etc. Read it and write a summary. So I'm not going to assign you, just you find you. And then there's a couple that are in here. And yeah. And then I also kind of want to use the discussion board like today to talk about some of these too. This week's a little, it's a little light because, you know, we're just getting started and it's week 1. And back in the day, people never used to teach in week 1, but we do because, you know, we don't have enough time. So, yeah, but anyway, so those are the assignments. And then this week, so we can talk about the class a little bit. And yeah, so are there any other questions before I get started on our discussion?
It looks like somebody put in the comments where the lecture is going to be posted at.
So I put them as an announcement. And thank you, I didn't see that. So, oh, I see there's 19 things in the chat. Oh, Janet. Will their lectures be posted? Yes, I'll show you. Vet tech. I wanted to be a vet tech too. I thought that would be, I actually was going to go to vet school. My advisor told me I wasn't smart enough. So I guess PhD is in second bat, right? Dorm mates are sleeping. We'll be talking some good. Yep, keep them sleeping. I don't like grumpy people. lab on Monday, lab today, search tech, what room? Yeah, the regular micro lab, the lab on the left. The one without all the anatomy things in it, the one with the incubator. So that's the lab on the left. Other lab tests. Okay, so lectures posted, I will put them out in the announcement. So if you look for the announcements of this week, it says micro intro video and that
What
was
class is the lab gonna be in?
the lab on the left upstairs.
Okay.
Have you been to the labs?
I went to room 416 yesterday. It was my first day ever on campus. But I
Okay.
think it's room like right next to it, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's 2 labs. I thought hold on a second, let me figure this out. Because I thought I already put the one lecture out. Maybe I didn't. If I didn't, I suck. But the video lectures will be put out through an announcement, and I'll say module 1 announcement. I'm pretty sure I did, but I can't find it. So that tells you that I didn't label it very well. So Janet, get better. All right. I need to come back to Zoom. Yes, so the lab is in room. What is it? Somebody said it was 4 something or other.
I think it's 417.
Yes, it is in room 417. So when you walk through, like you go into the student door, turn left and walk down the really long hallway, go down those little stairs, keep walking until you get to the elevator or stairs, go up to the 2nd floor, right? Which I don't know why it would be labeled 4, but it is. And then right when you get off the elevator, it's to your right. Yeah. All right, cool. Does that answer everyone's questions about lab? It's the same one where you would have AMP, okay? It's just the micro one is the one on the left. At least that's where I'm going, so I hope that that's where it is. All right. So the few of you guys that have done current topics, or since we're in the middle of current topics with the pandemic, let's open it up for a little bit of discussion. What do you guys think about what microbiology is going to teach you and what you hope to learn, and what are your thoughts on COVID and all of that jazz? So this is a discussion. Come off of mute.
So I was on the path for a criminal justice career path. So this is completely opposite of what I was even planning for, but I'm going for vet tech now. So I'm really hoping that this class will like kind of teach me some of the basics of what I need to know, because I was never huge on biology. And I think COVID is just, I don't know, it's changed the life a lot the way I look at it. Like I work and stuff, so we are constantly wearing masks. We get a lot of heat for it if people come in there without some. So I feel like it's changed people's minds a lot. Like you see a lot more places that are like cleaning things a lot more. And I feel like it's opened up people's eyes a lot. Like, yeah, I know some people don't really believe a lot of it. Like they think that a lot of it's just been blown up, which I kind of feel that way too. Like I feel like it was blown up, but it is still a real thing. And I feel like it's helped people to take extra caution on actually like sanitizing things and stuff, which I think was a good measure. Not a huge fan of the mask thing, because I just feel like wearing a mask so much is going to end up like hurting your health, like because you're breathing in like your own air and everything. You're not actually getting fresh air, and you're not really building up your immune system much when you have your face covered with a mask, is how I feel. But
okay. Yeah, I mean, the masks are interesting. I mean, I'm very pro mask because I have underlying health problems and I need to try to not catch this thing. Then also it's more about, it's kind of like, you know, wearing your undergarments when you're out and about. It's for more other people than your own self, but it helps you out a little bit too. So, you know, I just think that, you know, and I'm not posting an opinion by saying this, but you know, a lot of the people that are so anti-mask, they think that their rights are getting taken away, but it's like, we ask you to wear a seatbelt, we ask you to wear shoes and shirt or not get a service. And so to me, masking is kind of along that same vein of just, I know we don't like it, but we got to do it, you know?
That's how I feel, because I'm kind of like, there's no sense in fighting it because it's just going to kind of make it worse. So I'd rather comply with it. And, you know, like, because if it's going to save lives and, you know, you might not like it, but it's something you're going to have to get used to, is how I feel about it. So it's kind of like you said, like about seatbelts and like other laws that we have in place that you're supposed to abide by.
Yeah. And like, I'm one that I hate being told what to do. So I get the, you're taking away my liberties, but then again, I think people right now, everyone has cabin fever. And so they just look for anything to start a small little fight, which turns into a big one. That being said, I think that protesting and rioting are two completely different things. But people are taking protesting to the next level and making it into a riot. But that's my own opinion. But yeah, I think that everyone just has cabin fever and they just want this all to be over with, which I think we all do. But, you know, it was really interesting because I was teaching pathophys in January on Cadillac and actually Muskegon campus when this all happened. And so I had both my courses like traveling or, you know, or tracking what was going on. And we watched it as it came from China over to here. And then the first cases in the States, and then it turned into a pandemic. And so, you know, it's a really interesting time to be alive because this will be in the history books. A lot of 2020 will be in the history book. Murder hornets, two hurricanes coming together and making one big one, you know, whatever. But you know, so it's an interesting time right now that a lot of people aren't gonna be able to say that, oh yeah, I lived through a pandemic and blah blah blah. And like you said, I don't think that we'll get back to our normal for a long time. But that's okay. Adaptability is okay. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anyone else like watches in the news, not necessarily the news or keeps up with things, but like in other countries, like in Europe, a lot of them are opening back up somewhat to normal because they did the wearing your masks and just listening and staying inside and cleaning, like disinfecting and cleaning. But then here in America, you got people like, I work at Menards and I've been screamed at, I've been yelled at because I tell someone to wear a mask. And I've seen grown adults throw a temper tantrum because of a mask. And it's like, I don't understand. How hard is it? You're choosing to come in here and shop. We're not making you come in there and shop.
Right.
And they get so mad and so frustrated. And it's like, if you're seeing other countries survive and thrive and they're doing good, why can't we do as they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at some of the comments, you know, I think that the media overplays a lot of things. That being said, I do think that it's serious because I have, you know, having worked in medical school and being in the medical profession for a long time, you know, I've seen some of the downstream effects. I have lost people in my life due to COVID. And I think that it's kind of like somebody was saying, you know, it's like, okay, the flu, sometimes I can just not feel good and have the flu, but other times you're just knocked down, dragged out, like you are sick. And so I think that COVID affects different people differently depending on the strain of the virus, your underlying immune system, etc. But I also think that the media likes to grab onto the smallest thing and overhype it. It's like, you know, Brad and Angelina, not Brad and Jennifer, they were like hugging at a party, you know, a year ago. Oh my God, they're back together. No, they were just saying hi, you know. So I think the media jumps on a lot of things and overhypes it. But because of that, I think it made people kind of immune to how serious it can be. And then the other thing is we don't know the down the line effects of it. So like a lot of the x-rays and stuff are showing almost like popcorn lung and deep that would be in tuberculosis, right? And that's what the x-rays are looking like for COVID positive patients. Well, scarring in your lungs doesn't go away, right? And so what's going to be the downstream effect of that? And that's kind of like where I'm more concerned about. Yeah. And yeah, it affects everyone, yeah, differently, and there are different strains. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. So, So yeah, so obviously, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, COVID is going to be in a lot of the current topics that we're probably going to talk about weekly. But you know, I want you to use your microbiology brain as you are looking at, you know, any live events that you're watching or news articles that you're seeing and reading. And if you find a good one, bring it to us, you know, and say, hey, you know, send it to me and be like, hey, Dr. M, you know, I found this and I thought it was really interesting. Maybe we could talk about it as class, whatever. Because I think like my biggest goal whenever I teach is, of course, teaching about the material that we have to learn so that you can, you know, jump through those hoops and pass, but also it's to teach you guys how to think like a scientist, okay? Because the media does overplay things, and you can take the same exact article and read it on CNN versus, you know, another Fox News, and they're going to be completely opposite, but it's the same exact picture, you know. So I want you guys to be able to use your scientific brain to approach this as a legit, like, I'm going to go on unbiased, look at the data and see what my thoughts and feelings are. You know, kind of like the same with the presidential election. Just saying. I don't talk politics, by the way. That's a hard no for me. You guys can, but I will not engage in that. So that's a great little segue into the scientific method. I have my little note. Scientific method. So that was what you know, the lecture did talk about, that I recorded and apparently didn't paste, but I swear to God I did, so I'll look for it again and repost it. But anyway, the scientific method. This is a method that we actually use daily, even if you don't realize that you're doing it. You do. And so people are like, yeah, right, Jenna, like whatever. No, when you go to the grocery store, for instance, and you look at things of milk, what do? You look for expiration date, right? And usually you pick the one that's farthest out. Why did you do that? Because in your mind, the hypothesis is the farther out the expiration date, the longer that milk will last. Okay, so that is like an everyday example of how you can use the scientific method. So I want you guys to take a couple minutes and just kind of think about your daily life. And it could be, you know, there's the other typical one that they use is, you know, a flashlight battery or flashlight doesn't work. So how are you gonna like go ahead and figure out what to do? So, you know, take a couple minutes and I want you guys to think of like one example of how you've used the scientific method in the last week, okay? And then we'll come back and talk about it. So I'll give you guys a minute or two of awkward silence while I sing Jeopardy. As you guys can see, I have fun teaching. All right, so I'll set a timer, maybe. So think about it, and you can write little notes down if you want to. You don't have to. How are you guys doing? Do you need some more time? Or you kind of figure it out? We figured it out. Okay, so people come off mute and tell me what you guys thought. Don't everyone jump in at the same time. Oh my God, I can't hear everyone over all around it.
So, see if this works.
I hear you. Go ahead, Jenny.
So with like where I work as a phlebotomist at a hospital. Usually when I set up for the day, I make sure that I have enough blood culture bottles. So I want to make sure I have enough for a pediatric set in case the draw doesn't go the way I want or I'm not getting enough blood. And then I make sure I have extra bottles in case more orders pop up that I don't have to go back and restock.
Awesome. So yeah, you're using it to work smarter, right? So that's awesome. I always say work smarter, not harder. So you guys will hear that. So that's perfect. You know, you were able to say, if I only bring one, my hypothesis is I would run out of it in 15 minutes. So by bringing 15, 10, then I have more for the rest of the day. Awesome. Great job. Who else wants to join in? And Zoe, I want you to come off of mute and tell me about this horse, because of course I have horses.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Oh my God, your cat's adorable.
Thank you. His name's White Boy.
Oh my goodness.
So she's basically almost a 30-year-old Arabian horse. We've had her for a very long time. She's a very sweet girl, and we noticed that she was acting really funny when we went out at night to do chores and to green her and everything. And normally she's up by the gate wanting to eat, and we couldn't find her, didn't call when we called her name, and it was just, and so when we went out there, we checked on her, and I noticed that her lip was sagging. Like, it wasn't like her jaw, it was just her lip, her bottom lip, and she didn't like me messing with it, and I called the vet to see if they could come out. They came out, and they told me that she might have had a slight stroke. So.
Yeah. Well, great use of the scientific method. Is she going to be okay?
We hope so. I mean, she's in her she's almost 30. She's 28. So she's pretty old, but we're hoping so because she's a good old gal.
Yeah. By the way, horses physiologically can't puke. This is why they colic. BT dubs.
So why would there, because she eats alfalfa. I was wondering that too. It literally looked like she threw up because she had like alfalfa just like dripping out of her mouth.
It was probably because her mouth was partially paralyzed, so her lips weren't keeping the food inside, so she probably was dribbling it out, and the saliva would mix with it and make it be more wet and look like that, because, you know, wet alfalfa looks like mush, but horses physiologically cannot puke.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's seriously why they colic, and because they get a stomach ache, and where we would normally vomit, right, they can't, and so they roll around. Anyone that knows about horses, they roll around, and their stomach, because their intestines are so long and stuff, it gets twisted, and it's called colicking. And so, yep, the reason is they can fart and poop, but they cannot puke. So.
Yeah, we had 2 horses pass away from colic this year.
2020 can kiss my behind. Seriously. Yep. I have so many things that I could say, and it's only like August, but yeah, this has not been a very kind year, but that's okay. You know, we take it with everyone. So Jayla, you have one thing, but it was earlier this spring. That's fine. What do you want to talk about?
So, like, we have goats. What?
I heard we have goats, and then you started breaking up.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay, so we have goats and stuff.
Okay.
And there's earlier this spring, we had one that gave birth to 2 twin boys.
Okay.
And they both started getting sick, like, a couple weeks after they were born, and we couldn't figure out what caused it. We honestly still don't know what caused it. We know what they had, but we're not sure how they got it. They both end up getting tetanus. And so, like, I do, like, these online classes where, like, we read through a book and, like, try and diagnose things. Oh. So I had just done tetanus the week before.
That's cool.
So I kind of, like, figured out it was that. And so we, like, went and got, like, the tetanus shot. And we had to give them, like, double what they were actually supposed to have. But it just took so long. Like, I don't know. I don't think we were supposed to, but it was, like, otherwise, we had one die. So, but one's still good. And he's healthy. And he's alive. So,
Yeah, well, watching Dr. Pol, I'm like a vet expert, of course. Just kidding. But I think goats tend to get tetanus pretty easy. And as far as dosing, and this is horrible for me today, and I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but the LD50 is usually a lot higher than like a double dose. So, that's what I always say about aspirin. 4, sure, let's take 6. Just kidding. Okay, so anyone else have any scientific methods that you guys want to talk about? These are great.
I used to work up on Mackinac Island, and I was there for like 5 or 6 years year round. And we had a horse named Nemo, and he was kicking a lot like crazy, and he would not stop. So I started to move him around in the barn and figure out maybe it was where his stall was that he didn't like. And he didn't like being by the door because it scared him. And he did not like being in the main hallway because he didn't like all the people walking behind him. So we actually put him in like a back corner by the feed area where it was quieter. There wasn't the doors banging around, and he completely stopped kicking, became a much nicer horse, mellowed out. So it worked for him.
Awesome. Love that, the scientific theory in practice. Yeah, I have a horse, Bella, and she is a diva. I don't know what to do with her, but I think she's claustrophobic. She's taken to rearing before she'll even get in my trailer, and it's like, okay, whatever, dude. It's a 3-horse slant walk-in. Like, you can't have any bigger like than that. But yeah, and she kicks if there's somebody next to her. She tries to kick the crap out of them, even though I have a stud divider. It's like, oh, horse. Ugh. She's stressing me out right now. So anyway, all right, Debra, you want to come up and tell your story? Love that one, Rebecca. Thank you for sharing.
So I was in the kitchen and I was cooking, and I went to go plug something to an electrical socket, and all the power in the entire house turned off.
Dang.
So I just assumed it's breaker, and it wasn't. So I called my boyfriend in the room, and he did something that I don't understand. And turns out the electrical sockets, what did it do?
It short-circuited.
It short-circuited the power.
Yeah.
So he fixed it.
Well, thanks, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great because I totally would have thought it was the breaker too. Because I popped the breaker. Our house, the house I live in, I bought 4 years ago, something like that. And I don't know who wired it, but you can't have 2 things going in the same outlet or else it trips it. And so it's frustrating because you can't have like the toaster and the microwave on at the same time, or the coffee pot in the microwave. So it's just like, ugh. All right, let's share one more. Who else wants to share?
Well,
2 more then. Okay.
Well, just today I realized I did not plug in my laptop enough for the meeting today. So if I go out early, then it's because my laptop died.
Life happens, and now we know to bring the charger, right? No, I did that. I was interviewing for a job, and I thought I plugged in my computer. I did, but I forgot to plug it into the outlet, so it's perfectly not charged. And yeah, it was great. This was years ago. I got the job. It's my WGB job, so it was fun. All right, what's the last one?
All right, so I work at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare, and we have to do inventory checks like in our departments and stuff. And so like the one that I just had to do was we switched around our dog area, and we moved all the supplies out of the hunting department. Well, I had to do a negative report, and there was so it's like when they haven't been checked into the system, but we've sold them. And we had some that were like -9 and like really, really high. So I had to go around between the 2 departments and try to find, like, first I'd look in the computer, like, okay, it says we actually have like -9 of this. Now I need to go back to the dog area, see if we have any of that brand over there. And then if I have none there, then I have to go check in the other departments to see if they had put any like dog treats or stuffed animal or anything like that, like on a display. And you just kind of got to walk back and forth between different departments to see if you can find it somewhere. And then like, if you end up not finding it, then you like zero it out. So that one kind of was like, you have to try to decide like, okay, was it something that somebody could have put on display, or was it something that had just been put in the back warehouse? It's never been back out on the floor yet, or what? But
Good. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, you can see that, you know, even though you think of the scientific method as this very formal thing, we actually use it quite a bit throughout our everyday, even without. So like, you know, for the next week, try to pay attention whenever you're making a decision, kind of take a step back and be like, oh, I'm super smart. I just use the scientific method. So you'll notice that you'll start to see it in more everyday life if you look for it. The other thing is, you know, with the COVID talk, I was watching the chat and stuff like that, viral adaptability. And so, you know, we talked a little bit about viruses in the intro. Well, in chapter 1, they at least mentioned them. And viruses are really sneaky because they're not technically living because they can't reproduce by themselves. They have to hijack a host organism. But they're so adaptable. And so that makes trying to fight them crazy hard. And so one example of this would be, you know, the flu vaccine. Okay, they have it out every year, and every year it's about a 50-50 chance if it'll help you because they guess what strains are going to be adapted and everything like that. And so, you know, the viral load and viral adaptability is just crazy. So yes, by now there's more than one strain of COVID-19. And that's why, like I said in the chat, one of my friends, she actually was my student at the med school, and then we met years later, and she's become my friend. And she said, I mean, she's an emergency medicine doctor, and she's had COVID twice. So you can get it twice, you know, depending on, it's kind of like with the, you know, the flu, you can get the flu more than once and everything like that. So yes, the viral adaptability is awesomely terrifying. So it's really cool. Kudos, Mr. Virus, but it's really scary because it adapts so much. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about is the pros and cons of genetic engineering. And so in the lecture that I thought I posted, but apparently did not, it's about, I think it's 25-30 minutes, so I'll make sure to repost it after this. But anyway, they talked a little bit about genetic engineering. So, you know, genetic engineering can be really cool, but it can also be very scary when people decide to start playing God, okay? And so, you know, GMOs, the genetically modified organisms, people either love them or they hate them. And, you know, I think that it would be fun to, you know, get into a debate, and maybe we'll do this in some of the lab ones if we have time to kill, you know, and I know not all of you guys are in my lab sessions, and, you know, classes, like, they're never going to be the same because I adapt to the flow. And so, you know, same thing with the lab. I have 2 lab sections, and some of you guys are in other ones. So, you know, whatever presents itself to talk about, we will. But pros and cons of genetic engineering. So with GMOs, so, you know, there's a new strain of rice that they're trying to make, or that they actually have made, that is drought resistant. And so something like that, I'm like, oh, wow, that would be, how do I feel about carrots? They're great for your eyes, and horses love them. I'll come back to that. But so, you know, it can be really great because if you're in a desolate area with people that have like zero food, zero resources, you know, in that institution, it could be great. But whenever you start monkeying around with genetics, we don't know the long-term effects of it downstream, right? And, you know, I've had champagne grapes before, or cotton candy grapes. Oh my God, they taste great, but should we really be messing with grapes to make them taste like cotton candy? I mean, I don't know. Like sometimes it's like, I think people just do things to say, oh, I can do this, and so why not? So I think that, you know, we're at a really interesting time right now because, you know, we have all of these techniques and the power to do these things, but then, you know, we have to kind of get, you know, our ethics involved and say, is it ethical to actually do this? So, you know, overseas more than here, because in the US they wouldn't allow it, but I know overseas for sure they have had genetically engineered babies. You know, people will say, oh, I want a blonde hair, blue-eyed baby. And they can, you know, change the genetics and, you know, select the embryo, select out any embryos that have genetic diseases and things like that. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, where's the stopping points? And Deborah, tell me about carrots. I mean, I like carrots, but what are you asking about?
I think with the genetically engineering like embryos, my soon-to-be ex was born with muscular dystrophy. So my daughter is automatically a carrier. Mm-hmm. So when we were talking to doctors, because it's not a fun thing to have or to deal with. So my daughter's sons will have a 50-50 chance of having muscular dystrophy. Mm-hmm. So they told me it was an option for her to basically pick and remove that gene.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, I can see
Mm-hmm.
how it'd be helpful, but then if you're doing it just to pick the gender or things like that, then no.
Yeah.
I think if it's something like that, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, that's where it becomes very gray because, if we even mutate out all diseases to, are we going to have a medical field, down the road? So, I mean, I have a genetic disease as well, and so I had a 50-50 chance of passing it on, so I chose not to have children. So my husband has 2 kids from his first marriage, and so I have 2 stepkids, but me, myself, I did not, for multiple reasons, but yeah, that was the biggest one that like weighed on me. So it's interesting. All right, Deborah, carrots were genetically engineered to be orange for the house of orange, 2 carrots purple. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that I love to have like heritage brands and stuff, and I would more likely like shop at a farmer's market where you get the non-GMO stuff. It's like all the apples that you see in the store are perfectly round. The strawberries are perfectly big, but if you guys have ever had like a real strawberry from like the earth that's wild and these little tiny things versus like these big huge things from the stores, this one has a gazillion times more flavor than like the perfectly looking ones that you can get from the stores. So do you know why they made them orange? The House of Orange. I don't know what that is. So was it a royalty that decided he only wanted orange carrots? Deborah? Maybe she can't talk. So yeah, it was a sign of respect for the house. Yeah. So I don't know, it's just, sometimes people do things because they're bored. Sometimes, I mean, good things come out of it. But yeah, what else do you guys think? Pros and cons of genetic engineering? Oh, you're good, Deborah. One more discussion. Come on, don't make me call on somebody. I got all day. Really? Okay. So I mean, like I said, science can be a great thing and it can be a very scary thing. And so this is what we have to keep in mind to make sure that we're not playing God and that the things that we are doing are, for the betterment of the overall people. So yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to talk about. So are there any questions about anything before I let you guys go and then see a lot of you guys this afternoon? But this is pretty much how the classes are gonna go. We'll spend about an hour going over any questions that I can find and work on them as a group. But this one was more like scientific method. We can talk about the different things and how we actually use it in our daily life. So I really want you guys over the next week to do that and be like, oh, okay, well, I realized that I use the scientific method here and here, even like, oh, is my makeup going bad, or oh, that milk smells kind of funky, I'm not gonna eat that, why, so things like that.
I have one for the scientific method. I didn't think about it, but I guess I use it.
Okay.
I work in the paint department at Menards, and so sometimes when someone doesn't have an exact color sample to bring, they'll just either like take a siding off or like chip off a piece and like bring it to us because we can color match it. And there has been quite a few times where, not quite a few, but there's been a few times where so you have to put in a base. Each color has a base, and I misinterpret it and I read the wrong base, and when someone wanted brown, I accidentally made pink.
Oh.
And so like you have to like pick the right one. So you'll see 4 different examples and you have to like pick the one that's closest to 0, and then it'll show you the match. And yeah, so when we mess up, we just like mistint it and then we sell it. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool that we can color match something by them just bringing in a sample. The computer knows what color it is.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I remember when the color matching technology first came out, and it was like it was spectrophotometry, and it's very cool. And so I was like, oh, like you're helping to repaint part of the house. I don't know, the cottage, and I was like, oh, they have this new thing at Menards now where you can do this. And my dad thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
I was in grad school, and so he was proud of me. So yeah. Also, I guess I just got a little message too. So there are probably a few of you guys that are not in the lab class because it might not be necessary. I think that might be the case, but anyway, I don't know and the two are different. So you have a lab grade and you have a lecture grade, and so I think that they are graded separately as well. So like, for instance, with A&P, I've had somebody that, for instance, didn't pass the lab but passed the lecture, and so then they just had to retake the lab. And so your grade should not suffer because they are separated, I believe. And I will double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that they are separate. Okay, so that was just a PM that I got. All right, is there anything else that you guys need to talk about or want to talk about for this class? Nope. Okay, so
someone had a thing in the chat. They just asked.
So the microbial deck is basically you're going to be making a summary sheet about all the different microbes that we study. And so when you click on that assignment, there's a detailed explanation as to how you do it. Let me see if I can go ahead and find that for you. All right.
I also have a question about microbial deck.
I'm sorry, what?
Is there like a certain amount of like cards you want in the deck?
I think it's just one per week, right?
I don't know. I'm just checking.
During this so I think it's just the microbes that we talk about. Oh, here's the ones that they want you to do. So it would be 38 cards, looks like. You guys see my screen? Probably not. Screen. All right, so if you open up the microbial deck instructions, it says this, it's complete by due by whatever, by the week 15, there's a point value, and then what they want on the front of the card and the back of the card, and then these are the organisms that they want, so 38. Okay. You can start working on those, and like they say, don't wait until the last minute because that will take too long. And you'll do a sloppy job if you wait for the last minute. Alexandria, did that help you answer that question? Okay. I think that the index cards would be great because then you can study them. And it says the front of the card and the back of the card. So, I mean, frankly, I personally don't care if you want to do it on a piece of paper and you put it in a binder, fantastic. So that I'll let that be up to you, you know, because it's just, I'm making sure that you have the information, that you have a studying abilities from it. So that would be great. Like I said, for me, index cards might be easier, but if you want to do it on papers and put it in a binder, that's completely fine too. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Well, I will see some of you guys this afternoon, and good job. And I will make sure that I have the lecture posted. So sorry about that. And we'll talk to you guys next week, okay?
See you later.
All right, bye-bye.